right, Janine.
All right, I now call to order the meeting of the Harlem Community Development Corporation for today, Tuesday, June 23rd, 2015. I'd like to note for the record that this meeting is being webcast. The directors have received the relevant written materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask questions at any time. Consistent with the policy of our parent corporation, Empire State Development, we welcome public comments on the items on the agenda after each item is presented, and any comments are received from the directors. We will allow members of the public to provide comments. All comments should be limited to 2 minutes and should only address the item that is under consideration. Are there any public members in the room? Okay, great. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I would like to ask the directors whether anyone...
Members of the public present are Janelle Procope from the Apollo and Jacques and Brock Brunswick from the Apollo.
Thank you. Welcome Apollo.
Thank you.
Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I would like to ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to the item on today's agenda. If so, I would ask you to please make an appropriate disclosure on the record at this time. We will then be sure that you recuse yourselves from any discussion or vote with regard to such item or items. I believe you all have the one single agenda item before you in your materials. None? Okay, thank you. The foregoing has been noted for the record. We have only one item on the agenda today, so I will now ask President Archer to present the request for approval of Harlem CDC's Victoria Theater Redevelopment Project's lease agreement for an operator and manager of the cultural arts component. Curtis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This proposed action will be the conditional designation of the Apollo Theater Foundation as the operator and manager of the 25,000 square foot cultural arts component of the Victoria Theater project, and to authorize Harlem CDC to enter into lease/operating agreement and take related actions. Let me give you some background on this. Harlem CDC and its parent corporation, New York State Urban Development Corporation, doing business as Empire State Development, in 2012 adopted a general project plan, and in 2013 affirmed the modified GPP for the project. 233 West 125th Street Danforth LLC is the developer, consisting of Danforth Development Partners, Falconwood Organization, Exact Capital, and the Lamb Group of the project. The development team will undertake the construction of the cultural unit and provide within it 2 black box theaters, a black box office, back of the house operations, and office space for cultural arts organizations. The MGPP contemplates ACDC or its designee owning the cultural unit and leasing it at nominal rents for cultural purposes. On January 16, 2015, Harlem CDC and ESD issued the RFP for proposals for the Victoria Theater Redevelopment Project, operator manager of the cultural arts component, soliciting proposals for the operation and management of the cultural unit. The primary focus of the RFP was to identify a qualified operator that had the experience as well as the financial and administrative capacity to operate the cultural unit and complete the build out within the cultural unit of those finishes that are not being provided by the developer. Specifically, the RFP sought an operator with at least 10 years of experience operating, maintaining, and managing space of at least 20,000 square feet for a not-for-profit arts and cultural arts organization in New York City, including facilities management, leasing, scheduling, developing, operating, budgets, etc. Strong financials, experience with the design and construction of cultural arts facilities, including evaluating their capital and FF&E budget requirements, extensive fundraising and marketing experience, infrastructure and capacity, prior successful experience working with racially and ethnically diverse cultural arts entities, and in particular, Harlem-based and black cultural arts entities. Knowledge of the New York City Harlem arts cultural arts industry landscape and key players, respect within New York City's arts community, cultural and heritage sectors, experience developing, curating, and presenting cultural arts content. Commitment to and experience with cultivating new and emerging arts, culture, and heritage nonprofit organizations. Pursuant to Harlem CDC and ESD's procurement policies, the RFP was advertised in New York State Contract Reporter on January 16, 2015, and on ESD and Harlem CDC's websites. A proposal review team consisting of Harlem CDC and ESD staff evaluated the written proposal and interviewed the respondent. Through its proposal, the Apollo Theater Foundation demonstrated an in-depth understanding of the cultural arts industry in Harlem and New York City, financial and programmatic capacity, and the necessary theater management and fundraising experience to successfully operate the cultural arts component. The more compelling aspects of the Apollo Theater Foundation's proposal include office space and theater usage offered to the project's cultural partners at below market rates, shared services program for box office, marketing, back office support, production, and general management, commitment to and demonstrated success in fundraising to cover operating deficits, marketing plan including but not limited to digital and social media, community engagement, and the benefit of more than 80 years of experience with the Apollo Theater. Based on the above reference and outline points, the directors are requested to authorize the corporation to conditionally designate the Apollo Theater Foundation as the operator and manager of the cultural arts space at the Victoria Theater redevelopment project, 235-237 West 125th Street, and enter into negotiations with the Apollo Theater Foundation of the terms of a lease/operating agreement to operate and manage the space. Thank you.
Curtis, does that conclude your presentation?
That does, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I moved a little too quickly in the beginning, and for the record, I need to note that I am Janine Johnson, acting in capacity as chair today because our chairman, Assemblyman Keith Wright, is on the floor right now dealing with negotiation of the rent regulation laws, 421A, and a plethora of other things as relates to those last days of the legislative session, and could not be here. So I want to thank the staff of HCDC and ESD for pulling this web conference together to allow us to be able to have quorum with me being in attendance today and letting me be able to facilitate today's meeting. So I need to state that for the record, that I'm acting as chair today as the chairman's designee of the corporation. With that being said, is there any discussion on Curtis's presentation? Would be a...
One question, Janine, can
Yes.
address to representatives of the Apollo Foundation. I am Joe Plessis. My question is really related to the cultural partners who will be selected at some point in the future. Will it be only the Apollo Foundation members making the decision regarding who the cultural partners will be and who will be entitled to that space?
So let me answer the question. So we have Tom Comasenti, who's our project manager at ESD, who also was part of the RFP process. The question really relates to two parts. One, and Tom, you should chime in at any point. I'll give you the framework, and Tom will give you the nuts and bolts. The two parts, in the original GPP and the original agreement to do the Victoria, there were 3 or 4 cultural partners, 4 cultural partners already identified. And going forward, and based on how the operator manager is able to do business in terms of finding the right proper fit as relates to leasing, renting, et cetera, at below market rate, it could be someone different. But I think Tom can give us who the original 4 were and give you who the original 4 are, and I think that would be it really at this point.
Well, I'm familiar
Yeah, then
with the
that would be
original
the
four. No, my question actually is a different question.
And I'm not, so you could go back and give that background
Right.
information if necessary. I'm
And-
Arbor Rice, and I'm Gail Brewer's designatee on the board and relatively new, so thank you.
Terrific.
Tom, you want to come up to the table and really go through that real fast?
Sure, and I'm going to defer to Eunice Jackson
Okay.
just on the specific entities that were in the general project.
4 entities were the Apollo, the conditional designee of the Harlem Arts Alliance, the Classical Theater of Harlem, and the Jazz Museum.
Jazzmobile.
Jazzmobile,
in
right.
Harlem. Those are the 4 original. The Apollo was one of those,
Right.
is one of those 4.
Well, I'm familiar with all four organizations.
Margaret,
And this was to
Okay.
answer
Oh, to
Barbara's
answer, okay.
question.
Thank
The other thing I will note, I was not part of the committee who made the decision, but all of the cultural partners, as part of the Apollo's proposal, submitted letters of support for their proposal, just for the board to have that information.
Letters of support for
For the Apollo being
Okay.
the designation.
My question still is,
Mhm.
even though I know all four organizations, I know their executive directors and I support all four, my question is going forward, let's say for instance, God forbid, Jazzmobile at some point in the future moves to a different location, becomes some different sort of incarnation. Is it the Apollo Foundation solely that would then decide who would be the next, or who would be the
May I
cultural
answer that
partner?
for you?
Yes, Eunice.
The GPP, as well as, we don't have a negotiated agreement, but you're clear that the Harlem CDC board will always have the voice, in consultation with the Apollo for future cultural partners.
And may I add, and that's because we want to make sure that this board has input on what cultural institutions should be able to replace if these four do not work out. We want to make sure that Harlem Community Development Corporation keeps that entity in, so that we best know our cultural institutions and best vet them. So it's an opportunity so that the people still have a voice.
Thank you, Jeff Eaton.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. It's Heidi. From our community.
Heidi.
Yes. Sorry.
Thank you. Go ahead,
Thank you.
Heidi.
Along those lines, I wanted to know, is the final lease or contract, because this just designates the negotiation. So is the final lease or contract coming back to the board for ratification? How does that work?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm curious to know how many proposals were received.
Just one proposal.
Just the one?
Any
Madam
final
Chair?
questions? Yes.
Madam Chair, I just want to go on the record that I did have a conversation. I'm on the board of the Harlem Arts Alliance. We have been talking about this process for a very long period of time, and we fully support the designation. I just want to make a motion that we move forward in making the designation. Anyone has, if there's any unreadiness? I'm good.
Motion's on the floor. Is there a second?
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Congratulations, the Apollo Foundation. You have a lot of work ahead of you. Thank you very much. Janelle, you want to say something?
Of the Apollo? Yeah, can you hear me, Madam Chair?
Can you
Yes.
come this way, Janelle, so she can see you?
Recognized.
I just,
Janelle, could you
Madam
state
Chair,
your name?
members of- Janelle
Janelle,
Procope,
state your-
President
yeah.
and CEO of the Apollo Theater. And so Madam Chair and members of the HCDC board, I just really want to tell you, thank you so much. You know, I've been at the Apollo for the last 12 years, and before that, 3 years on the board. So it's been 15 years in the community, really trying to, you know, get the Apollo on firm footing and headed in the right direction. And I feel that we definitely are headed in the right direction. And the community has been really amazing with us in this journey. And we're just very excited and proud to be designated as, or the conditional designee as operator of this project. And as Marion and Eunice and others said earlier, we've been a part of this process for the last 10 years. So we've watched this, and we're very excited that it's coming to fruition now. And it's, I guess there's nothing like an idea whose time has come, and I think it's time now. And to your question, we've been really very close with the other cultural organizations. A couple of them fell by the wayside during this 10-year period, but certainly in the last several years of this process, we've really had a meeting of the minds, and we're like-minded on what this project represents to the community. I think that in the spirit within which there has been designated this 25,000 square foot footprint for cultural use, we are really mindful of what it's supposed to be. And so it really is our intention to work together with the other culturals and with the community to make sure that what happens with it as it's implemented and completed is what we all would like to see. It is, I understood from HCDC and ESD that this allows us to sit at the table and iron out the remaining details, which I'm confident that we will. And I just want to say that I think that the work of ESD and HCDC in this RFP process has been terrific. I think it's been seamless, and it really has enabled us to get to this moment in time. So I'm confident that things will work out. So thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. With that, is there any old business? Is there any new business?
Madam Chair?
Thank you. Can we have a motion? There's new
No,
business?
new business.
New business.
Oh, there's a delay on my end. I'm sorry. What was the new business?
I'll
Jeff?
yield to you first. I'll yield to the lady at the end.
Thank you. Hi, this is Director Dana Reed, if you can see me.
Yeah.
Since we're on the subject of bringing arts and culture to our neighborhood, I just wanted to make you guys aware that the Africa Center on 110th and 5th has a new ED, the former ambassador to Botswana. Her name is Michelle Gavin. She's fantastic. Chelsea Clinton has joined the board. She's very, very involved. They've asked me to join the board, so I know what's going on. And one of the things that I was most impressed about with Ambassador Gavin is her desire to engage the community. And I know that we've all seen this project have fits and starts, and this is the right team. And I, one, just want to make you guys aware, and two, would hope that I could bring Michelle around to your offices and to see how we can collaborate to bring yet more cultural projects to the neighborhood, because there is a movement going, and it did take time, but I would hope that we all sort of, in our own respective jobs as well as a board, could welcome their new ideas and 75,000 square feet of cultural goodness. So, and if anyone has questions, please let me know and reach out, but I will be calling you to hopefully engage you guys.
Terrific.
That
Madam
sounds
Chair?
awesome. That sounds awesome. I think Rose can probably help facilitate the individual meetings, and maybe down the line, if something's fruitful, an entire board presentation, if necessary. Thank you, Ms. Reed. Jeff?
Yes, I have breaking news to announce to the board. Through long negotiations and Congressman Rangel's intervention and Protect the Palisades, LG has rescinded their plans to build their new headquarters along the Eagle Rift Cliffs amongst the heights that would have eliminated the visual aspect of watching the Palisades from the North Manhattan section of Manhattan. They're going to lower their expectations and preserve the beauty of the church that we have now, and that announcement is just happening right now. So I want everybody to know that's some really great news for us in the Palisades.
Well, thank you. Thank you to our congressman. Any other new business? Okay. Let you guys know the rent reg fight is a true fight up here. Don't expect that session will be done anytime soon. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn so I can get back to the Capitol. Is there a motion?
I'm at work.
Second.
Can we leave now?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
And a second. Thank you. Is all those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. This meeting of
Thank
the
you, Madam
directors
Chair.
of the Harlem Community Development Corporation is adjourned.